See, when we come into the present like this, see, what is there to criticize? You know, that silly thing I said just now about, you know, the translations of the scriptures, this sort of thing. Where does that come from? It comes from an altogether lower level of functioning, doesn't it? It's from identity with my own conditioning, with the sort of man I am, the way I was brought up, my education, my ideas about life. It's that part of me that is not the same as yours. In this we're separate. You know, there's Rita over there, and then Vera, and Fenella and Michelle. You're all different, aren't you? And this is John. But in this presence, there's just one, isn't there? And all our differences are contained. And certainly there is, dare I say, something complete. And we can look at the different features on our faces, and you don't even enter into the world of better or worse, do you, or like or dislike? You left all that behind. There's nothing but total allowance, acceptance, and this sense that somehow all is contained and is as it is. Amen. You shouldn't trust what I say, Gareth. What you should trust is if something rings true in yourself, if you find an echo of something that recognizes it in your own experience. Now, just back then when I was trying to answer Michelle, you see, if you come back to this moment now, I may indicate or, you know, perform, you know, tell you just to feet on the ground, bottom on the chair, listen, look. Then I go out of the picture, and then we begin to relate to something, because it isn't John Butler at all. It's spirit, isn't it? This presence. Now that is what teaches us. That is the teacher. And that is what informs us, just like air informs a balloon. It forms a balloon. A balloon without any air in it is nothing. But you put air into it and it becomes something living. And that's what spirit does. Spirit is just like the air in balloon. And spirit is what makes you and me something different from those bodies in the churchyard, which are just dust. It's dust plus spirit. That's what you and I are. So there's every reason to trust it. That's life, isn't it? So we just let the dust of our bodies, the dust of our personalities just subside into the chair, and just let's take on board what we really are, which is this spirit. Now that you can trust. And if I happen to be the man that's suggesting you do this for yourself, well, that's just as I was a notice on a bit of paper. Just don't trust me, for goodness sake. Because we sing in the hymn, the old hymn, O thou that changeth not, abide with me. And isn't it abiding with us? Look at it, it's here, isn't it? We cannot be closer to it, but here and now. The Lord is with us. It's a fact of experience. If only we just put the body down and just. Of course, this is in a way the technique of meditation. This is where people find it difficult because they're not used to doing it. But once you get the hang of it, of how easy it is just to put the body on the chair and just in a way let go, and then here it is. It's, you know, easy as pie once you can do it. Well, all these things, they help some people sometimes, dear. I don't dismiss any of it if people find it useful, but as long as you don't stay there, because there's always more. You may want to find music helpful, you become a musician, and that's it. You remain a musician all your life, which is okay if that's what you want, but if you want more, then you have to let that go and find what lies, the silent music, as it were, beyond it. Most people don't have any particular motivation to move beyond these, as it were, preliminary phases. So they said, we see and hear with the eyes of the flesh, which is okay, all good, well and good, but the trouble with the eyes and ears of the flesh is that they grow old and die eventually. And if you can develop this process of seeing and hearing the invisible, well, then you enter into a much wider and fuller realm of experience. The world is a marvelous place. There's no argument about that. But once you get a glimpse of the invisible world, why do you think I spend all these hours in meditation for so many years? There must be something there that has somehow informed me that I prefer it to ever more of the world. There's a deeper satisfaction, a deeper answer to my heart's longing. And I couldn't easily put it into words what it is, but I don't go there I do go there for nothing in the sense of no thing, but it's that spiritual nothing which is in fact the everything, which really is the ground of our being and the fulfillment of our being, the infinite completion, where ultimately alone we find our rest, and which endures beyond the grave. Well, certainly there's no me, and that's why we can't really describe it. But why does one continue to meditate, Phil? I don't speak for myself. You also kind of keep plodding up the hill to meditate. Why do any of us do the practice? It's a funny thing. Once you start, you get a taste of it. Well, some people, they just taste a little bit and then they get bored. There's the parable, plenty of parables in the Bible, aren't there? A parable of the sower. The seed is planted, people rejoice, they're full of enthusiasm, but then after a while, very often it's the cares and riches and pleasures of this life that pull us away. Although again, through history, there have always been those that have tried to withdraw from life, but the way I was taught certainly was very much to continue my life as a householder. And what happens? Well, you may find you're more able to work more attentively, actually become more efficient in this world. And certainly there is this elusive thing of peace suddenly begins to make sense to us. People say, after you meditate, well, I can see it's done you good. Can't always say quite what it is, but very often people's body language indicates that they've been somewhere good. The interaction between meditation and the world, it never stops deepening. You may notice that I often use the word prayer, meditation and prayer. Very soon after I started to meditate, I realized that this was, at least in my understanding, this was exactly what I felt prayer should be. And of course, in everybody's mind, prayer is very often for somebody else, isn't it? And certainly, although we probably start meditating for ourselves, it very soon you realize it It doesn't stop here. It spreads out. It affects the people in your immediate environment, and it soon develops into what you can almost call work for the world. In fact, I remember being taught there are 3 aspects to meditation. First of all, when you meditate for yourself, then with and for other people, and finally for the work's sake only, which is the truth, if you like, because this is what, and then you realize it includes the whole world. If we're at peace here in this room, does it stop with the walls? Or does it go through the walls? Where does it end? So have no doubt this is work on a universal scale. Are you familiar with, I'm using the word work, which I use freely to signify this direction of turning from this separate, restless me to the one, this invisible presence, which we can consider the threshold of what we refer to as God. So the work is really returning home, coming back where we belong. And this inner compass that is within us, this sure recognition, we instinctively recognize it. You don't need me to tell you. Adventure. Adventure without end. Well, yes, it is an adventure, isn't it? I've always felt it was. I remember the very first time I meditated, and it all opened up like that, and wow, I thought, this is something like an adventure. I was recently back from South America, where I'd been up in the mountains of the Andes and rejoicing in the great expansion of great spaces, and I meditated in a London railway station, and it all just opened up, and I realized I no longer had to travel the world to find the great spaces I loved. It was all within me. And that adventure's, I still feel it's an adventure every day. You know, of course, you never really know what's going to happen in meditation. A lot of it passes pretty sort of humdrum, nothing very much, just thinking, trying to sort of. But from time to time, a grace just opens it up for you, and you see what you've never seen before. And the adventure never ends, in my experience. It just goes on. They say God is infinite, and I don't think you ever reach. At least in my experience, you just go on. It gets better and better. See, to begin with, of course, we're very visual and what's the word? Oral, is it? Oral. Well, with our physical, with our eyes and ears of flesh. See, but once you start to meditate, well, one of the sort of primary instructions when you learn to meditate is whatever you experience, just let it go and go beyond. Let go. I'm afraid people can get very hung up on visions and colours and sounds and lights and things like this. You can, people write books about all these visions and things, which is of course fascinating, and people can spend years and years just playing around with these things, but actually they're all red herrings, they're all diversions. And real meditation, you just lose interest, you just let go. Which it may be difficult at first, because if people are curious and they love these things, they're fascinating. That's just what temptation is. It draws you in. Trying to analyze dreams and things and analyze these different levels of consciousness. But good true meditation, as I was taught, you just let go, let go, let go everything you can let go of, with all these sights and sounds. And then you may go start recognize something called insight. This is, then you go even beyond insight. You can't describe it at all. But something within you knows. That inner compass is a sure guide. Nobody's ever described God, have they? How do you describe spirit? If that's the same thing, it's really, isn't it? If you can't even really talk about a thing, can you? It's all these words are very, they trap you, don't they? That's why silence is probably the safest place we can be when we're trying to understand these things. See, when you go back home, Gareth, you could suggest to your friends, instead of trying to answer that question in this changing world, just be quiet, just share a moment of this stillness with them. Because you see, real knowledge is realized. It's a realization. It's not something that can be described. We just recognize it.